Well, tonight we take a closer look at the most recent Associated Press investigation into Paycheck Protection Program money received by Catholic dioceses here in the U.S. The AP story reads in part, quote, as the pandemic began to unfold, scores of Catholic dioceses across the U.S. received aid through the Paycheck Protection Program while sitting on well over $10 billion in cash, short-term investments, or other available funds. Joining me now on Skype to help us examine the AP's analysis is Andrew Robison, owner and president of Petrus Development, which has helped more than 100 Catholic ministries in their fundraising efforts. Andrew, welcome back. Always good to speak with you. You helped us take a look at this last investigative report by the AP on this subject. This new report, well, it doesn't assert that dioceses or other Catholic entities committed fraud or broke the law by applying for and receiving PPP loans, but it does seem to suggest that Catholic dioceses took those loans that they didn't need. What are your thoughts on the report, and what's the reality?
So, Tracy, thanks for having me on to talk about this. You know, we talked about this back in the summer when the first report came out, and at the time I thought that it was, questionable reporting at best, and I think that this is the same. So really what this does is this goes to a misunderstanding of the structure of the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church is made up of 1 billion Catholics around the world, right? Here in America, we have a number of Catholics here in America, but they are represented through 25,000 unique Catholic institutions. That includes parishes, dioceses, hospitals, Catholic schools, universities, ministries. And so those 25,000 unique Catholic institutions were the recipients of that PPP money. So to group all of those together and say the Catholic Church received $3 billion while sitting on $10 billion, which is another issue we could talk about, I think that is just a misunderstanding of the structure of Catholic Church.
Yeah, you kind of just mentioned that, but I'm wondering if you talk a little bit more about that. You know, why the confusion there, and also how does Canon Law factor into it?
Certainly. So parishes, high schools, Catholic hospitals, they are all separately incorporated. That means they have separate bank accounts, they have their own bylaws, they have their own mission. So we're all joined in communion as Catholics. We have a hierarchy through the Pope, through the bishops, through our parishes, but everybody within that hierarchy is able and encouraged. In fact, the Pope has encouraged, the Vatican has encouraged those institutions to manage their own finances themselves. And so actually what that does is that should give more confidence to us as Catholics who are supporting these institutions through that if we
we
support
just heard
an institution, whether that's our local parish, whether that's a Catholic high school, when we support that institution or that cause, that's where our funds go, and they won't be sucked up, or they won't disappear to another part of the church that we're not supporting directly right there. And so I think as donors, that really does give us confidence that we can support the Catholic organizations and institutions that we are intending to support with our financial dollars.
Andrew, we're going to have a lot of time, with maybe about a minute or so, but I want to talk about this. You know, we heard from Mark Irons about the challenges faced by a lot of Catholic schools during the pandemic. Can you talk about how the PPP funds, how they've been able to help and what they were used for?
Sure. So when you look at Catholic parishes, when the pandemic started back in March and April, many dioceses were looking at a potential of a 60 to 80% loss in income through Sunday collections in the year 2020. What actually happened, in large part thanks to the PPP money, but for a number of other reasons, most dioceses, most parishes recorded a loss of closer to about 6 to 8%, 6 to 10% loss in revenue from 2019 to 2020, which is a great thing. But I want to make another point here, Tracy, that the church is important to the fabric of American society, the schools, our parishes, and I believe that government funds should not be what sustain the Catholic Church. Catholics everywhere need to consider how generous and how supportive they are of their local parishes, of their dioceses, of their high schools, and how can we, myself included, how can we look to be more radically generous and support our institutions, both this year as we recover from a pandemic, but long into the future, because giving really does help us all grow in our own virtue as Catholics, and it benefits so much more than just our parish, but it benefits our society at large. And I think that's a really important message that we can take away from the pandemic and all these associated lessons.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Andrew. That's a great point. We're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you coming on and your analysis.
All right. Thanks so much, Tracy. God bless.